I feel like what we're seeing right now is a lot of people going through digital depression and digital dementia.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
I
believe it.
So digital depression is where basically everybody's putting whatever they want. Like they can create this reality show and only show you the edited clips.
Yep.
And then it could allow you to create this persona that like they're crushing it, and they aren't. Like they aren't. It's a lie.
Yeah.
Right? And it creates digital depression because we're now comparing ourselves to somebody's edited version that is totally false.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
And then thinking something's wrong with us. Something's wrong with me. And then that makes you not do the things that you know you're supposed to do. That makes you not make the calls. That makes you not go and reach out to 50 people. That makes you not present the offer because you're like, wait a minute, I'm no good, you know? And like, that's a battle.
This is Secrets for Success.
Welcome to the Secrets for Success podcast. I'm your host, Greg Todd. Thank you as always for joining me. We're going to call this episode the do-over. So I have Ray Agostino here. Ray is the owner of Agostino Athletics. He has been in my world as a mentee of mine since 2017. And he was actually the fourth person I ever had do a podcast here. But our podcast it's a long story. And what we're not going to, let's just leave that story for another day. Ray, thank you for coming back. I appreciate you.
No problem. Glad to be back.
Awesome. So there's so many different things. I mean, we could sit here and talk for like 50 hours on the journey of everything that has gone on in our world, from Smart Success PT, the first season, to the live event, to 717 South, to everything that has happened. But what I would love to do is I would love for us to talk about what's coming up, which is SSHC Live 2024. And that's what I want to spend this episode on. I'm actually going to title the episode Locations Have Energy. And that's what I want to kind of title it. But before we talk about the event, can we just know a little bit about you and your story?
Sure. Like you said, my name's Ray Agostino, owner of Agostino Athletics. And I'm down in Fort Myers, so just a couple hours south of here in Florida. What I primarily work with is youth athletes. And a lot of times coming back from injuries and getting back out into the field, onto the court, coming off of ACL injuries, ankle injuries. So really just helping them get healthy and then restore their confidence after having an injury like that. And I find that's really the biggest thing, because in our area, it's very Medicare driven. Yeah. So the care goes primarily to senior citizens, and kind of these kids get worked into those environments, and it's just not built for them. So that was kind of the premise of starting Agostino Athletics, and here we are. Okay,
so let's talk about, all right, I said I was gonna talk about the event. I can't do this with just this guy. All right, so Ray and I met in 2017. Yep. He was a part of my third cohort of Smart Success PT, and that was the year that I decided to have my first live event.
Yeah, it was right after.
Yeah, so let's talk about, before we talk about the event, let's talk about how meeting up changed the trajectory of not only your life, but my life too, and our relationship.
Sure.
And so you went through Smart Success PT. So just for you all to know, because a lot of you are new in my world, I used to do a program called Smart Success for Physical Therapists. My audience was not healthcare. It was physical therapists. And I was told by my staff that they wanted me to help people that were in the same predicament that they were in. They were going, I had two staff members that were going to Flex DPT programs. Mm-hmm. And they were like, Greg, things are really bad out there. And I've just kind of had my head down, just doing my thing, building my business and whatnot. They're like, can you mentor or help some of the people that are in school like you're helping us? So I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. Just have them come to the office. And they're like, they can't do that because a lot of them were like Flex students and they were in different states and they would just fly in and da-da-da. So I was like, well, what do you want to do? They're like, can you do some videos? So let's upload a video to YouTube. And then that's how things started to take off. So a year later, I created Smart Success PT. You were in the third season of it. And we don't have to go through all that. But there was one thing I did with you that I didn't do with any other student in that season. And that was I had a meeting with you.
Yeah.
and we had a meeting at a restaurant. So why don't you tell the people about that? Because
Yeah, so
it's powerful.
it is, and that was kind of really what kind of springboarded me to get out of the situation that I was in at the time, which was just a staff PT working for somebody else, which
Right.
I'm sure a lot of people listening are in that same boat.
Yeah.
So we went from, it was February 2017 was when season 3 was. It was shortly after that to where we met. I think it was like right either
It was
the last.
It was the last week of the season. Yeah.
So last week of the season, we met up at a restaurant, which sadly you informed me is no longer, 717 South.
Yeah.
But so we met there, and they had the, you go to the restaurant, they have the paper tablecloths.
Yeah.
So we're over there kind of doodling. We're talking about my situation. Okay, this is what we need to do to try to first kind of think about what you want to do when you leave that situation. I know a lot of times it's like, yeah, quit your job, do this, but you need a plan when you do that.
Right.
So when we had that meeting, that really set the foundation for how to leave that situation and then be able to hit the ground running when I do that, and not just leave and then, okay, now what kind of thing. And I think that's important, because a lot of times, I would say almost one of the worst things is you hear from your patients, clients, how good of a PT you are. Oh, you should open your own place.
Right.
I'm sure a lot of you have heard that.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, I'm going to do that. But what do? You hear all that, and then you go open, and then where are all those people that told you you should do your thing?
Yeah.
They're nowhere to be found.
Yeah, they're nowhere to be found. They always go ghost.
Right. But and just learning kind of, okay, these are your options. And at that point, it was, I think in the PT world, relatively new of doing online stuff.
Right.
So kind of looking at, okay, these are the different options that you can do. This is what it would look like if you follow this plan as far as a brick and mortar, if you follow this plan of trying to do stuff online, or if you kind of combine the two.
Right.
And just with what I wanted to do, it was that combination or kind of that brick and mortar route that I wanted to go, because I felt like I needed a place to be able to work with that population that I wanted to work with.
Right.
And again, just from that meeting and really literally drawing out the plan of how to leave as a staff PT in just an environment that was not where I wanted to be. There was like, and we drew that out as far as, okay, this is as high as you can go in that environment. And that ceiling was very low.
Right.
So in order to really break through that, I had to leave that building so that way there was no more ceiling there.
Right.
And just kind of drawing that out right on the heels of going through that program, I felt really gave me that momentum to be able to do that and actually be confident in doing that, and not just feeling like, okay, I'm leaving, but now what do I do?
Do you think that if we didn't meet that day at that restaurant for 2 hours,
Yeah.
do you ever ask yourself what would have happened?
Yeah. I mean, it's, again, we talk about like the power of momentum, and in the sense of, and not only having that meeting, but having that meeting when we had it.
Right.
Because it's easy to kind of finish a program and be like, yeah, I'm going to go do this. And then something happens the very next day.
Right.
And it's hard now to find that momentum that you just built up.
Right.
So to have it there and really, again, see the details on what you need to do in order to make your dreams happen.
Right.
I don't know. Even if that happened 2 months later, it still, I don't think would have had the same impact as it did happening at that exact time.
Bro, you're dead on. Because I think that most people, we are in a state of inertia, right? And so we are at rest. And when I say at rest, we're working, but we're doing something that is not giving us the life that we want.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantees of anything. But what sucks for so many of us is that we're working daily, and it doesn't matter how hard we work, we know there's no upside to it.
Yeah.
Right? And that sounds sucky, but then it's like, yeah, then there's this new way. Okay, there's a new way, but it's still really, really hard to do and hard to pull off. And you're right. It's like we create this momentum. Maybe buying the program Smart Success PT created enough momentum to at least get you to say, you know what? I'd be willing to drive 2 hours to go meet this guy.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I know he just finished with me as well, and he's willing to meet me. So in my mind, I'm like, you're willing to commit. Like, you're like, he's willing to commit. Well, let's go see what happens in this meeting.
Yeah.
And from that, it had to be at that time. And I think a lot of people think, yeah, I'll do that later on. Bro, I've had 4,000 plus clients.
Yeah.
And about 3,500 have said, that was awesome. I plan on doing that. Just I need things, and then it never happens.
Yeah.
It never happens. And so I think there's so much power in understanding that not only did that location give us energy, but the energy we brought to it, because there was momentum from the 8 weeks of us working virtually together.
Yeah.
And then we brought that energy to that place. And we're able to map out a plan. Now, we mapped out a plan. It's not like you went and, oh my gosh, I've opened my business. No, like, then what happens after that? Then it's like, okay, I got the plan, but then things didn't go into play right away. And then we had our event.
Yeah.
And that was the first event that we had, right?
First event, yeah.
Yeah. And here, why don't you tell the people, like, do you even remember anything from that event?
No, yeah, for sure. And again, like that came out the heels of our meeting, maybe a couple of months later. So again, there wasn't a lot of time for kind of that momentum to dry out. So again, it was important for that to have happened right when it did. And I would say even at that point, looking back at it now, it was a smaller event compared to what has gone on since. Yeah. But there was 70?
About 70 people. Yeah.
70 people there. And at the time felt like it was enormous.
Yeah.
And I think really the biggest thing with that is we've been working with all of these people virtually. Yeah. And then now you go in and like, oh, these people are real. These people are going through what they're going through. And now you get a chance to really to meet them.
Right.
And I think that was the coolest thing with it, because at that point there was 3 seasons. Maybe you started the 4th before 3?
No.
Just the 3rd?
Right after we finished the event, we went into the 4th.
4th, okay. Yeah. So it was that group of people. So it was, like 12 in season 1, maybe 20 in 2, and then my group maybe had, 40 something? 30?
So it was 12, it was 10 in season 1, it was 16 in 2, and in your group there were 70.
Okay.
Like 70.
Yeah. So now to get, I mean, that was probably the core of that event, and then there were other people that were there as well. Now kind of getting introduced into that world, we're used to, okay, you go in, you sit, and you go to these CEU courses, which you need them, but it's just walking into that environment of SSHC Live or SSPT Live at that time, it was, I mean, you're just blown away. Like there was excitement. Everybody had a lot of energy. It was a party for the people that have been working together virtually. And it was an opportunity for us to get together and really just see if this thing is going to work, as far as everybody, and then growing that program even more. I think that was important to see, does this work? Like as far as take all these people online, you can put them in a room and it's just like, nothing can happen. But I think because everybody kind of had the same belief systems and goals in the sense of wanting to expand themselves outside of what was already available or what was only available in the healthcare world, to where it's just, you couldn't get that anywhere else. So to now have that be an option was really cool to see how that all came to life.
Yeah, I think locations have energy, but I think they have energy based on the intent of the people that are there.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm very superstitious on like not changing location, even though it's costing me a killing. Oh my gosh, it's so brutal. But like you already know when you walk into that place, do you feel it?
Yeah.
You just feel it.
Yeah.
And I think you feel it because you know what's already happened here.
Right.
It doesn't matter how many people come, whether it's 50 or 500 or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's that the location has the energy, and time has the memory, and it allows you, like, I don't remember what I did in 2017, but I can remember that event. Like I can remember it hour by hour of what happened that year. In 2018, I don't remember what happened in 2018 in my life, but I remember that event.
Right.
And so I think that's how it is for most people. It's certain events that you remember. And I could just remember all of the different things that were going on, and you have to have something big that creates that memory. You know what I mean? Like what did you do August 23rd of 2018? You don't remember. But you remember Memorial Day weekend. You remember the monsoon. Remember that was 2018. Yeah, 2018 was a year that it just rained. It was like a tropical depression, right? Okay. Like 2017, I'll never forget being out there and just like, I gave everything I had. And it was after the party, I couldn't speak. I remember we had the 2-day event after, and I was just like, how am I going to do this? I had nothing left in the tank, but I never felt so fulfilled. The 2017 event, I remember that this was supposed to be a one and done thing. I didn't know anything about offers and masterminds and all that stuff. I just said I would be willing, since like in my mind, Ray, it was like, I never went to my prom. I never went to any homecoming. I never had the money to be able to buy class rings. I've never experienced any of that. But what I did do is when I did build my business and when I got money, I used money to love on people.
Yeah.
And I used money to love my clients. And I used the money to create an amazing experience. And I was just said to my wife, since I've never done those things, can I just do one thing? Like if a kid has a bar mitzvah, could I just do that one thing and we'll call it SSPT Live? It's just okay, you can do it one time.
One time, man.
And if she never came to that event, it would have only been a one and done. But she saw there was some magic that happened and the people were saying different things to her. It's just like, wow, this actually means a lot. I was like, yeah. She's like, maybe you should do it again. She didn't say you should do it again. She just said, if you want to do it again, you can. And I was like, I think I want to do it again. So, bro, it's just so amazing on what happens when you bring people with certain intentions into a room. It's just amazing. And I just look at our relationship, that all of the things, every single moment I can remember with you, I've just been at an event.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we've done coaching, so for you all, I don't know, Ray's in my inner circle program, and he's been in pretty much all my programs over the years. And we've had a lot of time together. I can remember all the times we've been physically together.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time in Blue Ridge. I remember the second time in Blue Ridge.
Yeah.
I remember the first time when we did our events. I'm talking at the place in Indian Shores. I remember the first time we did Indian Shores, the house.
Yeah.
That was with Ave and with Alex and Kyle. And you remember that, right?
Yeah. On the house. Yeah.
I think Noelle was there too for a little bit, right?
Yep.
And I remember every single one of those moments.
Yeah.
I literally could replay them, and I can't replay anything else in my life. I can't.
Yeah.
But I can remember those moments. So, anyways, I don't know if you have anything else to say about that. Just maybe some of the different moments and how that's kept you going in business when it's been tough.
Yeah, so I think the big thing too is maybe it was the 2020 event where it was at a different time. Was it still Memorial Day weekend? Or not the one that was in Orlando?
The one in Orlando. That was 2021. In 2021,
okay.
Yeah, that was around. It wasn't Memorial Day weekend.
No, was it later in the summer?
It was a little bit later, I think.
Yeah, and again, going with too, looking at where the event started and then where it's been now last year. And then coming up again this year, to where to me that feels like that's the home field for this event.
Right.
It's we kind of forced to have it somewhere else that time, and it was just a different feel. It was a little bit further for me. I come just a couple hours south of here, but just different because it feels again like that's the home field.
Yeah.
And for me the timing of it it's always a good, I feel like at the end of the school year, for me, for who I work with, I need a boost to go to get through summer.
Right.
So for me, it's always been at the perfect time to kind of get re-energized, get momentum, meet new people, meet people that I can help, meet people that are doing similar things to me and be able to try to encourage them to keep going with it because it's very easy to hit the one roadblock and then say, throw your hands up and that's it and walk away. And I've had plenty of opportunities to do that. I feel like you said earlier, this is hard. It was miserable in different environments, but it was easy. And then you step out of that. And I can say from almost any other thing that I've done in life, the entrepreneurship and having my own business, and in particular a PT-based business, has been the hardest thing that I've ever done.
I can tell you for me that there has never been anything in my life that's been harder than getting my teeth kicked in every day as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I've participated in athletics to a certain level, but I've even talked to people that have been professional athletes and have said that there's nothing that's harder than being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It is the hardest thing every single day to basically know that you're going to get your face smashed and have to show up every single day
Yeah.
and continue to do it over and
Yep.
over and over and over again.
Yep.
It's the hardest thing that you have ever done. And I don't understand how people could even consider trying to do this without any help, without any intentional momentum, without any support, without like these events, at least something. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about a CEU course at La Quinta Inn, with some stale water and some nasty Krispy Kreme donuts that are 2 years expired. I'm talking about like somebody like saying, bro, I believe in you. Like, this is what you got to do. This is how the game has changed. This is how the world is different. And we're constantly adapting and evolving. Like, I don't know how people do it without coming to stuff like this.
You gave the analogy before to where, like, you go day in and day out, you get your face beat in, and then you come back to the corner and get cleaned up, get the sweat wiped off your face, get them bruises pushed out with the metal, and then you go back out and you do it again. And eventually you'll learn, okay, this is how I duck that jab, but now you get hit with the uppercut. You got to come back in, get cleaned up, right? And then you go back out, and then now you're getting left hook, right hook across the face. And it's just every day you come back from that, and you got to decide, do you learn from that? Or do you just take it and throw in the towel? And I think the best way to learn from that is to have people to be able to reflect upon those experiences, because someone else has gone through that or something similar. And for me in particular, it's just I'm by myself there. So to have a team, to have a group of people, to have an event knowing that, okay, I have a team, but they're just not with me,
with you every
day in and day out. So to be able to come back to that and again get cleaned up and be able to go back out is huge, especially for that situation of kind of being a solopreneur where it's by myself, and it gets lonely there, it's a lot of that's real easy to sink into those thoughts of can I do this, should I do this? But I know that I have help behind me, whether that's whether it's a coaching call, whether it's just having a chat with people in a group, or again, now coming up, having a bigger environment of a lot of people going through the same thing, or a lot of people that can learn from
things you've gone through,
what I've gone through, so that way they can expect it and they know what's to expect coming up and they're not surprised by it.
I think that's a good segue into what's happening this year that's different than any other year that you've been to the event.
Yes.
You're speaking, bro. You're speaking. And I actually told you last year, right after the event was over, that, and I didn't know how the year, like what was going to happen in this, that, but I was like, you're speaking next year.
Yeah.
What you're speaking on, I have no idea.
We'll figure
it out. But I actually think that you speaking on what I talked to you about a little bit, I think is so perfect for what we're going through right now.
Yeah.
Right now, it is tough. And I remember going through really tough times. I mean, look, business is always tough. So I don't want to say like, oh, yeah, that was tough. It's all tough. But there are certain times that are harder than others. And it was for about a year and a half, 2 years of what I went through in 2008 to the beginning of 2010. And when I go back to those times, everything I've ever taught you guys, I would say 90% of what I taught from a mental standpoint, from a mindset standpoint, I was able to basically come away with those things, from the foreclosure to this, to all the things that I went through was during that time that has now blessed so many people.
Right.
And so I think, I don't want to have an event to where all we do is talk about, hey, this is how I made $1 gajillion in 4 days. Watch me. No, let's get real too.
Right.
And I think this year has kicked a lot of people in the teeth, but it's like, how do you continue to push and move yourself forward? And I personally, I'm not trying to put pressure on you. I think it's going to be the talk of the event.
Yeah, no, it'd be great. Because again, I think a lot of times, like you said, like it's easy to get on Instagram, to get on social media, and you just see all of the success.
The wins, right?
And it's great, but a lot of times then that doesn't happen for you. And now you think, well, I can't do that because I'm not. Now you're playing that comparison game of I should be at that point already.
Yeah.
you see what people want you to see
Right.
on social media.
Exactly.
And it's the same thing where you mentioned too about just being able to tell somebody that you believe in them.
Yeah.
It takes one person to tell you that you can't do it, that you suck, that it's not worth it. That will overshadow a million people telling you something positive.
Right.
And I
Isn't that
see this
crazy?
with the athletic world too. Like you'll have coaches that are on players, they're not getting looked at, and then they do something great and they don't ever feel like it is because they get told so many times that this was bad, this play was bad, this is terrible, you suck, this, that, the other. It just weighs on you.
Yeah.
And then now you hear one positive thing and you think that's the falsehood there.
Right.
And you don't want to believe it.
Right.
So I think it's important for people to see what you can overcome. You know, like we were just talking about, it's not easy, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
And that just sounds so bizarre to sit here and talk about how hard this is day in and day out. But would I have done something different? Would I have stayed over on the other side where it's a lot easier? No, I can't. Right now, I couldn't picture myself working for somebody else in an environment that I would want nothing to do with.
I just look, I ask myself that too. And I mean, I know what the answer is, but there are days where I'm like, God, what am I doing? You know?
Yeah.
But, I look at it and I say, I remember how miserable I was when I made the decision to bounce. And it's only gotten so much worse.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no other option. And I think for me, just knowing there's no other option,
Yep.
It just keeps me going because there is no other
Right.
option.
When you know that it has to work, it has to work.
It has to work, right?
Yep.
Exactly. And I think that's a huge thing. Oh gosh, man, I think it's going to help people so much with understanding that it's not just them, that they're not alone. I feel like what we're seeing right now is a lot of people going through digital depression and digital dementia.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
I believe
it.
So digital depression is where basically everybody's putting whatever they want. Like they can create this reality show and only show you the edited clips.
Yep.
And then it could allow you to create this persona that like they're crushing it and they aren't. Like they aren't. It's a lie.
Yeah.
Right? And it creates digital depression because we're now comparing ourselves to somebody's edited version
Right.
that is totally false.
Right. Yep.
And then thinking something's wrong with us. Something's wrong with me. And then that makes you not do the things that you know you're supposed to do. That makes you not make the calls. That makes you not go and reach out to 50 people. That makes you not present the offer because you're like, wait a minute, I'm no good, you know? And like, that's a battle, that's a battle. And if you don't, and I just don't, like, I get it. Most people, when it comes to events, they're like, I want to show all my success stories, that everybody's successful in everything so that everybody thinks that way. But I don't want that. Like, I want real. And I want to talk about the highs. I want to talk about the lows. And I think that's what I've done, right, with you guys. Like, I think
because everybody, too, I think, looks at success differently.
Yeah.
So somebody's version of it might be being able to do exactly what they want to do.
Right.
So, again, it might not look like, $30 million company. That's somebody's success.
Right. Yeah.
But somebody else's might be being able to just do the things that they want to do on their terms and help who they believe needs the most help.
Yeah.
And continue to do that.
Yeah.
And again, it's different for everybody, but everybody can have that version of their success.
Their success, right? Yeah. And I think, that's the one thing. I'm glad you brought that up because I think at least for me, as I've seen business go through all types of cycles and whatnot, I think just as I evolve, success means something different to me.
Yeah.
And what I love about entrepreneurship is I just love that it can give me whatever it is that I'm on right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if it's, like one of my coaches, Ed, he's struggling health-wise in a few different areas. Well, because he is an entrepreneur, he's able, if he has a choice to do this, but he's able to set up and structure his businesses to where like his success right now is just get healthy.
Yeah.
Right. And he can do that. Right. I can't do that working in other environments.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what I love so much about what we do is like, whatever it is that you want, you can do it.
Yeah.
You can truly have a life by design, but it's hard. You still got to build a thing in a way that you want it to serve you. And so I think that's huge.
Yeah. It's looking at it. And again, it's kind of weighing is the hard worth it?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times when you don't expect big things of yourself, the hard's not worth it.
Yeah.
So you stay on the easy side. But when you look at, okay, this is what I want, this is why I need that, then the hard gets a little less hard to do. And then that snowballs, and then it becomes the success that you're looking for.
Awesome. Golly, damn, that's so true. Well, guess what, bro? I have you speaking. You don't even know when your time slot is, but I'm actually going to have you speak on the Sunday.
Okay.
I'm gonna have you speak on a Sunday. I kind of want you to not finish it off. I'll finish it off.
All right.
Okay, but you're going to but you're gonna be like that. I'm gonna have you, at least right now, I have you slotted on the Sunday in the morning when everybody's like they're fired up, they're whatnot. It's not for you to like say, all right, you're gonna get your teeth kicked in, but I want to give people the real and not let them leave there thinking that if things go south or if they have a high or they have a low or whatever, like have equanimity. I think that's what maybe that'll be the title of your talk.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the things I feel like has helped me is I don't get very high and don't get very low.
Yeah.
I stay fairly steady.
Yeah.
And it just helps me to where, again, a lot of times you can have a day where you've got more sales than you've ever had, and then you're trying to ride that high, and then it goes a different way the next day or the next hour. Yeah. And then now you're swinging way down. Right. It's just being able to kind of take all of that in, right? Celebrate the wins, right? And kind of reflect on when it doesn't quite go your way. But to stay even keel, I think helps you tremendously in the long run. I mean, I 100% agree with you. I really think entrepreneurship's a lot like baseball. 2 out of 10 is not terrible as a professional. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's not terrible. 3 out of 10 is amazing. Yeah. Right? But the reality is that you're going to get hit more than you're getting hits. Right? And if you can just understand that and just keep even keeled and stay in the game. Yeah. Like you'll eventually be all right. And then sometimes you'll just go on streaks, man. You'll just go on crazy streaks like, oh my gosh. And what's so cool about entrepreneurship is that those streaks, what you can do during those streaks is the equivalent of what you can do in a year, 2 years, 3 years, doing it in the way we used to do it before we made that. And so I'm willing to take that risk. You're willing to take that risk. And I'm glad you're going to be talking to people about it. So before we leave, tell the people where they can find you. They can find me at Agostino Athletics. That's the Instagram handle. That's probably the best way to find me. Okay. We talk a lot about what I do to help young athletes get back out onto the field after their injuries, and to improve their confidence and their sports performance, so that way they can get their way to college. Love it, love it, love it. Well, thank you, brother. And here, what I'll do is this: I want to honor you. I thank you so much for. I guess if I was to give you a word, I would say loyal and longevity. I'll give you 2 words. 2? Yeah. I'll give you loyalty and longevity. And I really just thank you because I know that I've had to adapt in helping people. I think I've consistently attempted to help a lot of people, but I also have other things in my life. And I've had to adapt. And I don't expect for you or anybody else to always adapt with me. That's not an expectation that I have. Just you have. Right. so I will say I'm very thankful for that. And just understand this. So I'm thankful for you. So that's here. Let me end it there. But then I also want to say this. Please feel free to do the same for yourself. In that whatever way, yes, your job is to help your people, but set it up in whatever way makes the most sense of what Ray deems successful in your life. And just figure out how it can be a win for them and a win for you. Yeah. And if you do that, then sky's the limit. So, I appreciate you. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. That was easy.